Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoonful podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mario Piacquidio. Joining me, my very good friend, Mr. Emmett Watkins Jr. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty grand. I had a great morning today. Woke up early, went to the gym, got Einstein's, and now here we are,
Oh,
ready
good
to
one.
rip it up. I'm very
Beautiful,
excited.
beautiful. I will
Yeah.
say to the people at home, if you're watching, I know it's flipped, but I will be eating some Trader Joe's peanut butter cups because I had a very light breakfast and I'm gonna get lunch after we record, and my tummy's a little hungry. So
I hear that. I respect that. We had different mornings today.
we had different mornings. Yeah, I
Yeah.
today to share a little bit of my stuff. Today I had uncle duties, and so I did yesterday. Our because sister-in-law, she's in town with her two little twin boys, but she actually just left town for a week or so. So we yesterday we took them to their swimming lessons. Today we took them to their soccer lessons. So very much uncle duties this morning. And if you know anything about weather in Florida right now, it's really hot,
Oh,
really
weather in
fucking
Georgia
hot.
too.
Yeah, I bet we're
Sweltering.
ooh. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun, and I'm tired, and I need a little bit of chocolate.
Yeah. It's funny you say you were on uncle duties because me and Gabby were on uncle and auntie duties
There you
yesterday as
go.
well. So it's like
Parallels.
small fucking world.
Was it all
Yeah.
planned or did it happen? I don't know.
This one was planned because her niece lives outside of the state, and so she was visiting for the last month or two. And so went over to her brother's house, picked her up, and we basically took her to Sky Zone, which is like a little trampoline
Mm.
park, where she loves climbing, so she got the chance to just climb around, do a bunch of stuff. They had a jungle gym in there that she loved. And she loves just like, I want to climb all the way up here. And then here I am at the bottom of the airbag, like, please don't fall. That's like a 5 foot drop. You were 3 years old. You can't
Please,
take that
man.
drop yet.
Yeah.
So it was a little nerve wracking, but she was nice. She was sweet and, she had her fun. So,
That's good.
yeah, that's what we did all day yesterday. So it's very funny that you're like, yeah, I was on those same duties. I'm like, oh, well,
Hey,
small
uncle duties.
world.
Yeah, it's I've been trying to do a better job because you know people know me a little bit. I guess I tend to be a bit of an introvert, right? Like I tend to need to be have a lot of alone time to like recharge. But
Hmm.
I've been very recently trying to make a bigger effort to like be an uncle, right? Because like thinking back of my childhood, like when you're a kid, you appreciate having those people around, right? Like the cool
Hmm.
uncle and like having them actually be around. It they value that. Kids value that a lot. So yeah,
Indeed.
trying to be a good uncle is it's important.
Yeah. Plus, once you're the uncle or the aunt, and if they associate a fun thing being done every time I see them, then they become the cool uncle because just by facto of how you interact with them, the only time you're ever interacting with them is when you're doing something fun or good. So,
That's very true. That's very true.
yeah. So yeah, it's nice to have that. Plus, that was my first time meeting her niece too. So she's already like, "Oh, Emmett's the fun one."
Nice. That's good.
So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a locker. I'm a turn her on you, Gabby. Watch out now." No, I'm kidding. She's all right. But yeah, so yeah, it's a pretty good
Nice.
time. Yeah, we were actually they were talking about trying to see Mission Possible Fallout last night as well, but we were too tired by the end of the night. We got home at like 10 o'clock. We're like,
You're
we're
like,
all
no,
tired.
I'm done with it. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's
we were
fair.
in bed by 11:30, so it's one of those. But yeah, good times, good
Nice,
times.
good time. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording how the last few spoonfuls, and we hinted at it last episode, and then we got totally fucking carried away, and we didn't do it at all. But
Yeah.
our last few episodes have been very much so like just us shooting the shit and catching up and chatting, which I think has been a good format for the show. And so to continue on what we wanted to talk about last week, right? That you have we have a lot of catching up to do, right? And there's a
Hmm.
lot of stuff going on in your life. So hit me with it, dude. What's going on with your life? We haven't talked about it, and I want to know because you're my friend. And that's how friendships work.
True that. So yeah, here's what's up. So I'll say the lens of which this information is coming through first. So the topic that I wanted to bring up last episode was how does your life change once you get into a relationship?
Mm,
Because that is more or less what's been going on with me lately. Um, how my life has been changing has been less anything super drastic. It's not been anything, out of a movie or anything like that, but it has just been being in a relationship has given me a more defined future
Yeah.
where, once if you're alone, it's really easy to say, okay, I want to do this in the future, I'm going to do this in the future, but it's hard to crystallize exactly how that's going to look like and get a clear picture of like how all the actions you're doing are going to plan out. And once you have a certain idea of, okay, so the future is definitely going to have this aspect in it now that they're here. So it's like, all right, so what do I need to do? What do I want to do to be able to fit in that picture? It no longer is you have to paint the whole picture on your own. It's okay, I got a couple pieces. Now I can find the other pieces to make a complete picture. And so what that is kind of turned itself into for me is me being like, I started this job because for those of you who don't know, I do work at a warehouse, Publix warehouse, and I'm doing night shifts there. I started that job because at the grocery store I used to work at, I was there every morning, like 5 a.m., starting the day, and didn't love waking up, but I was like, I'm here. This is what I got to do. So when I switched over to night shift, I was like, I want to be night shift so I don't have to wake up. And plus, I'm just more confident that I will be on time for work every time because I don't have to be there until 4:30 p.m. And here I am now. Just talked to, I was looking to get a promotion for a certain job because the job I've been doing the last couple months is a job I'm only technically doing. That's not my title, but I applied to get the actual title for it. Turns out they had that same title available in the day shift. So if I get the job, I interviewed for it on Tuesday, and everyone's talking as if I already have it.
That's
So
a good
if
sign.
I come back, yeah, very good sign. So if I come back on Monday and I have it, that's day shift. So
Hell yeah, dude.
back to, it might not even be 5 a.m. It might be 4:30 like I've been doing in the night shift, just flipped. So
Yeah, man.
it's early mornings, but it's also, hey, now, Gabby's always, she's not complaining. This is something I don't like either.
No, but it's
But
conflicting schedules,
yeah,
right?
it
Yeah,
conflicts with the
that
schedules, yes,
happens. That
where
totally happens.
she
Yeah.
yeah, she gets out of work at 5 o'clock most days, and by 5 o'clock, I'm already at work. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's literally opposite schedules to the point where we don't see each other unless I get my weekends off. I get every other weekend off. So, yeah, this will help with that. And also another thing that I've been thinking about doing, and I'm starting to pull the trigger on now. Um, I stopped going to school back in 2020, mainly because I was like, all right, I've been in school for a very long time. And yes, I have like a year of classes left, around that much, but the world's ending. So I'm like
Fucking
not
hell.
feeling motivated to do
Yeah.
anything.
No,
It
that's
is,
listen,
you know
man.
how it is.
That is fair. That is fucking like we went through
Uh,
we went through a global like pandemic and like
mm-hmm,
you couldn't leave your
exactly.
house and people were dying and we were scared to like be outside for a year and a half. It's fine
Exactly.
to be like, you know what? I kind of don't feel like going to school right now. That is fair.
Yeah. And it did start off as just a pause of like, man, I don't know what's happening. Let me just put my head down,
Yeah.
make some money for a little while, and then things will change.
That's what happened to
And then,
Jimena. Obviously, I've told my story
mhm,
here, but that is what happened to Jimena.
yeah,
Jimena finished her bachelor's right when COVID was already happening. In fact, if you look at our pictures from her graduation, I'm wearing a mask the whole time because it was like
it
fairly
was right
early
in the peak.
into COVID, and it was like one of the last like outside activities we did. And she took a break, and because life happens, it got extended, and just now she started with her master's program finally. But I get it, dude. Like
Hmm.
it you're not the
Yep.
only person where that happened.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that
it's a
happened
lot
to a
of
lot of
people.
people.
Yeah, so it was, when it seemed like there is no future ahead, it's hard to think about your own future.
Yeah, very.
So yeah, that's what the situation was there. But in the last couple weeks and months, I've been thinking about it, and I've actually already applied to try to go back this fall. And the plan is,
Sick.
if I do still have the same amount of credits left and everything transfers and all that, then I should be able to get that degree by fall of next year.
Hell yeah, dude.
So yeah, so it's a lot of
Awesome.
changes. So it's
Yeah.
like all within a week or two, I might have a different position with a different time frame entirely, and I'm having school on top of that.
That's
So
sick, dude.
it's a lot.
It is a lot,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's awesome for
mhm.
you.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's all motivated. Of course, yes, this is all stuff that I've been thinking of because the degree thing is less because I was going for a degree to English. Like I have an English writing and rhetoric degree that I was working towards, and Chat GPT and all that other stuff has made
Yeah.
that career a bigger question
It's not
mark than
like
it
you
was.
graduate and you immediately have oh, I suddenly make $300,000 a year career. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I'm under no, I don't think it's going to be like that at all. But I do think it does have value. Once you have a degree, people just know, oh, you're capable of finishing things. You're capable of doing work at all. And that just, it makes you look a little bit better on a thing. So I can go to other stuff with that degree, even if it's not necessarily for
Totally.
English or writing or
Plus,
rhetoric. So,
there is something to be said about like that the personal achievement that you get from it, right?
mm-hmm.
Like
I'll just be
obviously,
glad to be done.
yeah, exactly. But like that's personal achievement, right? Be like, damn, I'm done with this thing. Like I was doing this thing for a long time, and I put a lot of work and money and effort into it, and I did it. You know, there is
Amen.
something to be said
Amen.
about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, for all those factors, like, of course, those are all factors that led to all this, but it's also, hey, I'm doing this in part because, there's a other half to consider. And part of me considering that other half is doing what's best for me so I can give them the best version of me. So it's like, it's a lot of things are changing. And it's not even a shock now because, of course, I've been in a relationship for, half a year at this point. It's not too crazy now, but it is like, man, if you talked to me last year when I just started Publix thinking, all right, I'm just put my head down and work. I don't really have to have a social life much, so it's fine. And then here I am now.
Yeah, dude.
It's very different life. So yeah, a lot of stuff like that. And I'm sure you got your own cases of that stuff too, but it's wild.
It
It's
is
just very
wild,
wild to
man.
me.
It is wild, and it's what we were talking about when we first started talking about this topic is how like just being in a relationship that you like care about and you view for long term reasons like really puts your life into perspective and like kind of puts a fire under your ass, right? Because you're like, oh,
Hmm.
I want to be able to be in a good spot in the future. A lot of the things I'm doing, me starting school, I didn't even. You're continuing. I'm starting, right? I'm in my second semester of college ever, but
Woo.
hell yeah, but yeah, a lot of it is that same sort of mindset of like I need to, you know, plan ahead, plan for the future so we can have a better future and you know, not punt things away cuz when you're committed to a relationship with a person, right? Like it's not like, okay, tomorrow we have to get married and have children and blah blah blah. It's not that, but it's like if I want us to have the door open for that stuff, right? And make that kind of things a true possibility and something that we can thrive in, you shift your life, right? Like you shift
Indeed.
your values kind of shift a little bit of what you care about. That's one of those big factors that made me like decide to not pursue my gaming career that I wanted anymore, right?
Mhm.
It's not giving up on a dream on the sense of like, well, I'm not going to be able to do it. Screw it. I'm quitting, right? It's it's twofold. It's like, well, one, it's really hard to get there, right? Like it's not easy to break into the gaming industry, as you know and I know, right?
Oh boy.
It's
Yes.
it's
For sure.
incredibly difficult. It takes a lot of work, a lot of skill, a lot of networking, a lot of luck, right? Like
Hmm.
it's tough. And the so that's one aspect of it. And the second aspect of it that I had to have the conversation with myself self about was like, okay, let's say I do make it, right? Like I do my dreams come true and I work for kind of funny, right? Just to say, right? Boom,
Bingo,
I'm
bingo.
here. I did it. So what does my life in my future with Jimena look like? We have to live in San Francisco and have roommates and like struggle to pay rent, but I'm
Yeah.
living my dream. It's like I don't know if that's it. I don't think that's the future I want for us, right? Like
Hmm.
I think there are other sort things in life that will give me more joy than covering video games for a living. And more power to people that do that and there's nothing wrong with that. And that was a train I was on for forever. But my just like you're saying now, some of my values shifted, some of my what I wanted to do moved. So I totally get it. It
Hmm.
happens and wanting to improve yourself is a good thing. And that never stops. I'm still doing it, right?
Yes. Yes. And shit, as I am too. It's progress isn't linear. You're not just automatically better the next day because it's the next day.
Not at all. Not at
Um,
all. Yeah.
exactly. So that's something I've been learning a lot as well, where it's like, all right, I might have thought that I was good at this one specific thing, and turns out I'm not that good at it and I need to work on it. Or better yet, there are things where I never even thought to be good at it or not. And so it's like that wasn't even a stat on my card. And now it's like, oh, not only is it a stat that exists, but it's something that other people care about, turns out.
Mhm.
It's like, all right. So, things I'm learning here and there. And, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Even like, shoot, simple things. Like a perfect example is so the interview I did for this new job went very well, got really good feedback from the guy doing the interview. Turns out, one of the managers from night shift had recently moved into the day shift. So the guy who interviewed me is someone I already knew from night shift. So
Oh,
like
great.
a, another great sign. And so everything was great and all that. And as soon as, we were done, I was like, yeah, no questions. Just thank you for interviewing me. Hope I hear back. And then he hits me with oh, you will hear back. And I'm like,
Sick.
here we
That's a
go.
good hey. Hell yeah.
Yeah. All that's great. And then as soon as I got, of course I call Gabby after I'm telling her and she's like, all right, so what's the job? What exactly are you going to be doing? I was like, I didn't ask that.
I actually don't know.
Like
Good question.
simple stuff. Exactly. Cause like they listed it as the same position for the job that I've already been doing unofficially. So I assumed it was the same stuff. But then halfway through the interview, he's like, well, we already got folks upstairs. Are you cool with doing office work? And I'm upstairs usually. So I'm
You're
like,
like,
okay.
yeah, I got it.
Like to me, I'm like, all right, I'm doing office work. That means I won't be lifting stuff all day. So that's a bonus either way. But it's still like, what actually am I doing day to day? That's something I probably won't fully know until I'm there. And I asked around, I got some answers to that questions, but it's the fact that I didn't leave the interview without knowing the answer to that question. That's definitely something I probably should have known.
Yeah,
Um,
probably. Probably. That's
yeah.
all right.
But also when you think of it in the context of that is the third job interview I've ever done in my life. The second one being the one for Publix that I'm already at now, and the first one being the one for Kroger that I did in like 2013.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
yeah, it's one of those things where once you do stuff more often, you know how it goes more often. You know the script, and I
totally.
don't quite know the script for everything yet because I haven't done a lot of things, despite the fact that, good lord, I'll be 30 next year, which is wild to think about. I'm be old as shit. Um, but like, even though that is the case, I feel like I lost a good 2 years or so because of COVID, where it's just like I felt like I was spent those 2 years in stasis because it's like, shoot, what is there? What
Yeah,
is there
dude.
to do? And what do I want to do? I was focused on how the world was rather than what myself was for a while there. So you have that, and you have the fact that I've been in school for a very long time and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, I've bounced between two schools. It feels like I've done a lot, but I've also haven't done a variety of things.
Mm,
And that is what the last couple of months are showing me. I am being introduced to that variety of things that I haven't quite been doing because, I've been working for a while. I've been paying bills for a while. I've been at school for a while. I've been doing a lot of things. I've gone on little vacations. I've gone to RTX and whatnot. I've been around. I've been the kind of funny problem like when we met.
right. Of course.
But yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I never needed a passport until this year because she wants to go to Barbados next year for me to see her family. So it's
Mm,
like, all right, that's a new experience. She's talking about, oh, I want to swim with the manatees. That's not something I've ever thought about doing. So I'm looking at prices to go to Florida next year, maybe, and see about doing that.
oh, let's
It's
go.
like, exactly. Like and this is another reason why, it's not just being in a relationship, it's about being in a specific relationship with a person who's right for you because yes, we're very similar, similar senses of humor, similar ways of looking at the world, all that stuff. But the ways in which we are different are complementary.
Which is great.
Where,
That's always a really,
Mhm,
really good sign for a relationship. Yeah.
exactly, because in the way where she always wants to do everything, she wants to make an activity out of stuff. She likes having things planned. I like having the day at home, like a day where nothing
I'm the same
happens
way.
and I'm just at home the whole day. Yeah, we're right there.
That's a lovely day. That's a beautiful day. You
Exactly,
know, Jimena and
exactly.
I, and it's we had to have a conversation about it in our relationship because it was at a time where we were both pretty busy. We would have like one day off in the weekend or stuff, and I had to at one point be like, "Babe, for you, a nice day off, like oh, you feel rested, is a day where you do a bunch of chores and you go and you do groceries and we do this and we do that." And I'm like, That is the opposite of a day off for me. A day off for
Yeah.
me means I just sit on the couch. And she's
Eh,
and it's one of those things you're saying, it's complimentary because she had trouble, like, unwinding, like, she had
mhm.
trouble with just sitting down and unwinding for a bit, and I had trouble with getting stuff done because I
Yeah.
wanted to do was sit down and unwind, so we kinda helped each other out a bit there, so I totally hear what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird how similar we are.
For real.
But yeah.
This is why we're
Yeah.
friends.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, just like you're saying, like Gabby likes to be fast about things. I like to slow it down and really process things and all that. I'm slow to act, she's fast to act. She's more adventurous where I got the things I like and I stay there.
Mhm.
But I don't let that be, even though I like to stay in my comfort zones, I don't cancel out the possibility of something else being good. So I'm open to change, but I'm not seeking it all the time.
Fair.
Which is the problem. But for her, it's not that she's even like, I want change all the time. It's just that she's done so much and has tried so much. Like for food, for instance, I have a very, not a super limited palate. I'm better now than I used to be as a kid, but as a kid, I used to eat barely anything. My parents used to pack my lunch.
Were you a chicken
Yeah.
tenders kid?
Not only was I a chicken tenders kid, I was worse than that. My family packed my lunch until I got to high school
Oh, man, that's rough.
because it was bad every single day. I didn't like peanut butter and jelly, so I just had peanut butter sandwiches.
Nice.
And at a certain point, I got tired of peanut butter, and Skippy, this is before Nutella existed. Skippy had like the tubes of peanut butter that you ate as a snack.
Sick.
They had a chocolate flavor. And that's what they would put on my sandwiches for like 5 years.
Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't eat it. Literally, if they gave me anything else, I just wouldn't eat it, and I'd just be hungry that day. And I'd go home and make something. So, like, I was horrible about, eating new foods. I didn't like pizza until I was like 10.
Oh,
So,
man. That's how you know
yeah,
it's a problem.
every time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, hot dog, please. It was a problem. So, like, and fast forward now where, there's plenty of things I like to eat now. I didn't like eggs until this year.
Wow.
Like, I did not eat anything egg related. And then, we go to Einstein's and now it's like, oh, fuck. Literally, we went to Einstein's and everything I ate had an egg on it. So it's like, I like eggs now. And it's stuff like that. She's expanding my palate into other things. I didn't really think about Greek food being something I like. And now I've had
Ah,
Greek a couple
the
times and I'm
best.
like, oh, this is
So
good.
Very good.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't have known unless I, just let myself try it. And, she's opening me up to a lot of new things, but it's one of those things where because we complement each other, I don't feel like I'm leeching off of her in the ways that she's improving my life, because I feel like I'm also giving back to her in my ways of doing things, because, I don't want it to be a one-way street.
Totally.
And you don't want that to be the case in any relationship. If I'm getting something from someone, I don't want it to feel like I'm taking advantage of them. And thankfully, and plus another thing, we talk all the time. Like I don't shut up and she doesn't shut up either. So that works. So we always have conversation. But at the same time, I've been bad about, oh, there's silence, I gotta fill it. But she is, the longer we are together, the more she's like, you don't have to fill every single gap of silence. And so it's like, all right, that's
Yeah.
fine. We could just sit here
I
quietly.
went through that too, and it's like, no,
Hmm.
silence is fine sometimes. So that's like sometimes you don't need to have something to say all the time.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm learning that too. So yeah, it's very good. It's very good. So yeah, that's just, I'm being changed in a lot of ways. And it's not until, of course, when things first started happening, it's like, oh, things are about to go off. Now at this point, it feels like a lot of that big stuff, a lot of like the individual personal internal changes, a lot of that has already happened at this point.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, the structure of my day to day is now changing because of those changes now. And it's like, oh shit, here we go in the hyperdrive. And it's going to be a lot. It's going to be, because like I said, I only had about a year's worth of classes, and I'm starting, if I had 2 full semesters worth of classes and I'm starting with 3 semesters of runway, maybe even 4 if I go during the summer, I can only take, I can do like 2 or 3 classes each time,
Yeah.
take a lighter load so I can do it in between work and whatnot. So it won't be too much, but it's still going to be more than it was. And, she without getting too much into it, she went to school as well. She did everything in 4 years and had a lot of roadblocks and hurdles she had to get through. She pretty much no lifed it so she can get it all done on time. And I was like, all right, you if you're ready to know life it when you did it all, you understand that us seeing each other might be a little less, but
Yeah.
she's in my corner enough to where she is fully accepting, that
That's great.
possible consequence.
See,
So,
I'm happy to hear that because Jimena and I are going through a similar thing where Jimena's just this summer she started her master's, right? So her load has been busier. My load, especially because I took a couple accelerated courses. Like to give a view at the backdrop, when when Emmett texted me yesterday for us to record today, I was like, "Holy shit, we're due for a spoonful already." Because I've been no lifing it. Like
mhm,
I've been just like head
that's
down,
the life indeed.
extremely busy, and fine with it, right? Like this is what I signed up for. But a good example is you've heard me talk about how in love with Tears of the Kingdom I am, right? Like you know that. I adore this
Indeed.
game. I adore it. Every day that I play, I find new things I love about it. I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom and also any video games since the 4th of July. The 4th of July is the last
Oh,
time because it was a day off and I didn't have a lot to do, so I remember sitting and playing Tears of the Kingdom for, like, 2 to 3 hours, and I have not had the time to touch it since because 'cause I've been
mm,
head down, and next semester, in fall, I'm taking 6 classes, so I'm
oh,
going to be
God bless you.
screwed, dude. But the beautiful thing is that Jimena's also pretty busy because she's doing a master's program. So even though she doesn't have 6 classes, 2 classes is a lot when it's a master's program.
Certainly,
So
certainly.
so we've been a lot of our together time has been like studying time, but it's still, we're still kind of vibing with it. So I hear you. It's a commitment you do to like to focus on it, and you will have to sacrifice things, right? I'm sacrificing my gaming time a lot, but that's what you sign up for, right? So
Indeed. Indeed. You sacrifice a gaming time now so that when you're on the other side, you can have a job in which you can have a lot more gaming time.
exactly, man.
Yeah, because that's another aspect of it where it's like, all right, where do you see yourself in however X many years or whatever? It's like, yes, you see yourself with this person, but it's also what type of life do you want to have with them? Do
Mhm.
you want to have the life that I had during night shift where, because like, of course we don't live together. I'm still at my parents' place. She's still living with her mom and all that stuff. But it's the question of if we did live together, do I want it to be good morning, you're going to work and you work at home, so you're already at home. And then 30 minutes before you leave, 30 minutes before you're done with your working at home stuff, I'm leaving to go be there all night. And then I get home at 2, 3 a.m. and then I'm sliding in bed after that. Like I knew something had to change when back last year we had some type of mishap happen where something blew up, some machinery didn't work, and I had to work on Christmas Eve, that night of Christmas Eve,
Mm.
and something went wrong to where I was there. Usually we leave like 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
I think
I
I
was there
remember
till
you
almost
telling
6
that to me.
a.m.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. And then I came back because I didn't work. Nobody works Christmas Day, but I was there. Like I said, until 6 a.m. I came back the day after Christmas because I had to work again. And I was hearing all the guys who were there with me during that whole mishap, and they were like, "Yeah," because I left early. There were still things to sort through.
That's
They
crazy.
didn't finish until they didn't finish until like 10 or 11. I
Holy
someone
shit.
I heard one guy didn't get home until like noon almost. And I heard all that. And then one guy literally told me, yeah, I got home Christmas morning. Everybody was ready to open their presents. I immediately fell asleep because we were working for like 12 hours or more. He fell asleep and woke up at like 7:30 p.m.
Oh my
Slept all through
god.
Christmas Day
Please tell
with
me
his kids and everything.
please tell me overtime pay at least.
Oh, yeah. Once
Good.
once you're working, they don't
Okay.
do overtime pay by the day. Like if you're working more than 8 hours that day, it's not that. But if you're
But
working
if
over
you
40 hours that week,
yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
got overtime?
they
Okay.
give you overtime for that.
At least.
Um,
I'm not
absolutely.
saying it's like
Um,
like, "Oh, great,
it's
then it's
this is a
worth it," but
consolation prize.
it's a consolation prize, but at least you get that because that's not a guarantee, unfortunately.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, when I saw that whole situation, I was like,
Mm.
yo, I can't be here in 15, 20 years and sleeping through Christmas for my kids. Like I can't have that happen.
Yeah.
I is that, and then also, not gonna say specifically where my girlfriend works, but she does work from home, and she does have way more flexible of a schedule when it comes to, like, literally they have a unlimited time off policy, which is like, quote
Incredible.
unquote, like, is how unlimited is unlimited. Like, I'm sure there's a limit somewhere, but
But
people
they're
are.
not gonna like give you a, you're not gonna face repercussions for like taking a few days off or a week off every now and then, right?
Mhm,
That sort of thing.
exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, they kind of lift up the pressure, so it's like, hey, if you want to take a couple weeks, it's fine, blah blah blah. And so I see that, and I'm like, all right, for me, I have 80 hours in a year to use. And then I got sick days if I really want to. I'm about to use some sick days now because I used all my vacation days because I had a wedding and a trip to LA. But yeah, with all that, it's like, all right, so I got that time. Then after that, I got to go down to sick days. Then after that, it's like I'm just not getting paid for those days if I can get that day off anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm having to look at the schedule and say, okay, how many people off that day? Can I afford to be off too? Blah, 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 blah. Where for her, it's a lot more, you want that weekend? Okay. As long as not everyone in the whole company's gone, then yeah, you're fine. So it's like a lot more lax. So I'm also thinking like, all right, so what type of job do I want when she has all the time in the world to be able to go on a trip and she wants me there? I need to have a job that's maybe not the same, definitely not the same exact job because I don't want to do what she does because I'm not good at that. But something that can
Similar
have a similar amount of
structure.
flexibility.
Yeah, 100%. We
Exactly. Exactly.
that's the thing. My mom works at a
My Mormon.
my Mormon works at a she works at a factory for Whole Foods, like the
Mm,
pastries and stuff factory. And for a while, she was like a factory line worker, right? And she was doing a lot of the
yeah.
physical activity. And
Yeah. Charlie and
recently,
Chocolate Factory. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah, she's doing everything. She supervises a team of Oompa Loompas, and they get rowdy every now and then.
They all
No,
look up to her literally.
yeah, exactly. Nope. My mom is Timothy Chalamet, basically, is what I'm trying to say. No, she recently got a promotion to be a supervisor. So her role has been a lot less physically demanding and a lot. She's had a lot more flexibility. Like she's had a lot more PTO and stuff like that, and
Mm,
that's been a great thing for me to see as a son because I have to worry so much less about her state of like her job and her income and what she does because she like hurt herself before. She like had did damage on her back, she did damage on her finger. And like, when you're a single child, you worry about that kind of stuff. And even if you're not a single child, right, when you have your
yeah,
parents working in that sort of scenario, you worry about that. So
indeed.
it's nice to see her have something that's a long-term thing, right? And it's what you're saying, where there's a bit more stability. It's a large company, and she's in a higher up position where they do take care of their workers, right? Like she's not being super taken advantage of. And we've talked about moving from Florida at some point, right? Because my mom and I kind of have the same idea, and especially with the all the like the pricing of living in Florida, it's getting
Oh yeah.
completely and utterly out of hand. Like Florida is like, I think up to like the third, second most expensive state in the country. Like it's like
Jesus Christ.
really high up. Like it's one of the
Ah,
most expensive states in the country to live in, and it's just getting unsustainable. So, my mom working for Whole Foods, a corporate company all over the world, all over the country, I
owned
mean,
by Amazon for Christ's
owned
sake.
by Amazon. If she wanted to move, she can ask for a transfer and she'll probably get it, right? And that's such a weight off my back. Whereas where I'm at, I have a different kind of flexibility where it's interesting because I work for a small, like it's a small privately owned animal hospital, right? And
Hmm.
for people who might not know, like working for corporate jobs has its downfalls, right? Like there's a lot of,
Yeah.
they don't care for you a lot of the times. You can get taken advantage of, low pay. There's all the things, right? Working for a corporation.
Yeah. When you're a cog in the machine, they can easily replace a cog.
Totally. And that's a problem, right? But working for a small business is also sometimes not like the beautiful, amazing, incredible thing you think it is. because
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that just aren't available to you because it's a small business, right? There's not as many benefits, there's not as much flexibility to take off work. There's like three nurses where I work, right?
Yep.
So if I need to take a day off, like I need to make sure that I'm being covered. It's a way more involved process than when I worked at Starbucks, say, right?
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
it has
Yeah,
its
I get it.
benefits, its and drawbacks, but looking at it long term, there's no way I could maintain this like long term in the future where I want to what you were saying, like have a house with Jimena and have kids possibly and all that. So that's where you try to work to find that good balance of flexibility for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. It's all about finding that balance, and I guess that's the weirdest part of this is like cuz I've been of the belief that no adult really knows what they're doing.
Oh,
Like
100%.
we're all we're all trying to just figure out how this shit works on the fly, and I've known that forever, but it's more so like I didn't think about the fact that when you are figuring that stuff out, you didn't stop being the person you were before.
Mm,
you like it's the fact that like because everyone, especially me, I love my little video games, I love movies, I love pop culture, all that stuff. I didn't stop caring about all that to become the person who is now planning for the future.
totally.
It is like, no, that's just additionally on my plate now. And yeah, things will fall to the side, but those aren't passions I stop having. It's just like, okay, now you have another passion alongside all those things, and now you'll balance them all, and then when one falls off, it won't be a ceremony for it, it'll just fade away
Yeah,
if it
and
does.
dude, that's the thing. We've been talking about it.
Mhm.
I think the beautiful thing, and this was not intended for a Spoonful, but the beautiful thing that happened to both of us is that we're both going through like a lot of changes in life, and we've
Mhm.
used Spoonful as a way to like document that, right?
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
fucking
like
wild.
looking back, that's like a really fucking cool thing that we did kind of accidentally.
Yeah,
Like
I was like,
imagine
I'm gonna be on a podcast, let me fall in love real quick.
100%. Like, dude, imagine if in 10 years, we're like, let's say we're still doing Spoonful, right? Like, for some reason, we're still 10 years from now still doing it. Imagine how cool it would be to go back and see like
God,
the stepping stones of our lives, right?
good lord, Spoonful 100 after 2 years.
Fucking let's go, man. But yeah, to go back to what you were saying, when you're
Mhm.
going through changes like this in life because you suddenly have a relationship or you have a new perspective or a new focus or a new goal or a new place that you want to be in life, some of your passions, like you said, they don't go away, but you do kind of restructure your relationship to certain things and kind of find hierarchy, right? Like, and we've talked about it a lot for me, but social media was a gigantic part of my life for a very long time, right? And a
Mm.
lot of that is, connected to the fact of I moved to a new country. I didn't know many people. I didn't have a lot of friends that I could go to. My friend group was like a bunch of podcasters, right? That I listened to all the time. And
Yep, yep.
and then I made friends within that community. And so social media became a really integrated part of my life because it's the way I was social, the way I interacted with people, and the way I got to know people and had friends, right? Like we wouldn't have met otherwise. But I'm in a stage in my life right now where I don't need that as much as I did before, right? And I'm finding that, my relationship with social media is changing a lot because I'm not getting from it what I used to. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just not getting what I used to, so I've had to refocus my mind on like, you know what? On my leisure time, instead of checking social media, I would rather do this. I would rather read up on this. I would rather do blah blah blah. And that's life. And that's, you grow and evolve. Like you're not supposed to do the same thing your whole life.
This is true.
You're gonna change what you do, right? Like before Twitter, I was still a person. I did things. I had my interests. Like Twitter
Mhm.
doesn't define my life and doesn't define who I am. And
This is true.
and that's that you go through that. Those are life changes, man. Like that's how it goes.
Yeah, the whole kit caboodle. That's really what it is. It's just this is just like a very self-aware thing where of course everyone goes through changes and everyone knows that
Of
everyone goes through
course.
changes. And even when you're going through a change, you're cognizant of that. It's just it's happening slow enough to where I'm able to see it as it's going on and just
Mm.
stand back from it in third person and be like, wow, that's just happening. Wow, that's just happening for real. And even with the social media stuff, like I'm having the same thing, less because oh man, my life is changing personally and I'm having a different relationship with social media. Social media itself is changing.
It
Twitter
is.
is becoming something that it wasn't when I started
I don't
and
think I
that I
would
no
have
longer like.
had this realization if it wasn't because of what's happening to Twitter, right? And the fact that it is a different platform. Like, I think it just helped me see things. So it just came
Mhm.
at a nice time. But if Twitter was the same as it was, I might just be as much on it as I was before, you know?
Mhm. I'm right there with you. And even if Blue Sky was the same as it was, I probably would have still been there, but now they got problems too. I had to use a Threads account. You know how desperate
Oh,
I am
man.
right now?
Dude,
I'm on Threads. What is this world?
I will say, I was talking to King Franchise. We were texting. He sent me a text something because we talk baseball a lot because, we're both
Yeah.
baseball fucking freaks. Um,
Baseballers, yes.
we're baseballers. Uh, he sent me a link for a news thing, and it was a Threads link, and I opened
Oh
it,
God.
and it let me see it, not like Twitter for those couple days where you couldn't see it if you weren't a user. And I read it, and I we discussed it, and then I also told him I was like, by the way, this is the first time I ever open a thread. Like I have not seen a thread up until now. And he's like, "Oh damn!" And I was kind of talking to him about my whole thing with social media. He's like, I didn't create a Threads account. I don't think I'm going to create a Threads account. Like I'm almost not hoping, but I'm like, well, if Twitter dies, I'm done with that. Like it's like a cuz
I can see that. I wish I could say
no,
that, but
it's not for
yeah.
everybody. Like this is just where
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
at right now. It's because also I just don't have that much free time, man. So like
Mhm.
I'm so caught up in stuff that I'm like, if Twitter died tomorrow and I couldn't access it, I'd be
Pure
fine.
relief.
It'd be a bit of a relief. Like the only thing that I've been trying to figure out is to how to get news, which is funny.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I've like set up a Google News account and I had like followed topics so I could keep up with like, oh, what are the Yankees doing, for example.
Dude, I used to have Reddit for that, but now Reddit had they deleted all the third party apps. I had one third party app that was still working, only on one of my Reddit accounts, but it was still working. And then they removed that like 3 days ago. So now I'm screwed.
It's
I
it's
don't want to
tough,
use the
dude.
official
It's
app.
hard. Like I'm like, how do I keep up with shit? I don't know.
Yeah, you might have to just rely on the Google News trends. Might have to just rely on some type of. I mean, we're both Android people, so I can't even say
Yes.
that. I know Apple News has a thing,
Apple
but
News. I mean, but Google News here. I'm gonna prop open mine for the viewers at home.
yeah, because I
I have
get
it set up
notifications
here.
from Google News.
Google News
Okay,
is not bad, and you can set up like you can follow specific like
topics and whatnot.
topics, and you can also follow like IGN. So it'll like give me IGN
Mm,
stuff, give me the Yankee stuff. It gives you top stories. So like, let's see. See, I have like
folded phone.
baseball. Yeah, folded phone. Baseball stuff right on
Nice.
my page. It's not loading right now. It's not doing a good.
It's a great app. Dies of
It's a great
camera.
app, and it's not working at all.
uh,
Well,
it'd be like that. I
but
used
I'm
to use
trying to
Google News
use
way
it.
back in the day. I will say I did use it way back in the day. Shoot, I was gonna say because TikTok every now and then gives me some news too, but TikTok is dangerous. The
That's a
most
problem
addicted
with me
I've
for
ever been to
TikTok.
an app is
Yeah.
TikTok.
TikTok, and this is one of those things. TikTok is the first time that I'm like, maybe I don't like social media as much as I thought I did because I never wanted to be on TikTok. And I tried being on TikTok and I was like, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah,
it's too much of a time sink. It's too addictive. Like, I cannot sit there and scroll for like watch videos for 15 minutes. Like, I can't do it, man. And
it absolutely was me. That was me. I would get off
I
of work. I would clock out back when I used to work at this grocery store. I would clock out, go to my car, and just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna check what's happening on TikTok real quick." It would be like an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, and I'd look up and be like, I clocked out of work an hour and a half ago. I need to drive home now. And it's like at a certain point I said, no, I can't be doing this. So
Yeah,
I didn't delete TikTok because Gabby likes to send me TikToks, friends send me TikToks all the time. But I make an active effort to not have that app open because I
yeah.
will stay on it. It's
The
just too
only
easy. It's
My
way too
only
easy.
TikTok exposure is that with Jimena. Jimena will like TikToks, and actually, she deleted TikTok now. She just watches
Mm.
Instagram Reels, but we watch it less. But she'll like some, and like before bed, we'll like cuddle and watch them, and they're like funny or whatever. That's my only exposure to TikTok. Here's the thing: I'm gonna say this, and this is the most like
Uh-oh.
cliche, like white guy podcast thing that I'm about to say. But I've had
Here
this
we go.
realization, and part of it has been in school and talking to like
That
seeing
women are supposed
professors
to serve
talk.
men. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't approve of that. Don't clip that, internet. Calm
We
yourselves.
need Corey Cudney to make a gif out of that.
Oh God, no, Corey. Don't gift me. Don't gift that. For the love of God.
No, dude, like this is gonna sound so dumb, but hear me out. Just stick with me, especially because we are people that grew up online, right? Like we grew up with
True.
the internet. We met friends online. We consume online content. We are an online generation for the most part, right?
Oh, show.
There, you like, there's a
I'm
life
scared.
without
Hmm.
being online. Like that's a thing. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's not everything. And that's a weird thing to like think about, but it is a thing. There's people out there who are barely online and they live their lives totally normally and they're not missing out on anything. Like
Hmm.
that's a real thing. Like being
In fact,
online
that's most people probably.
it's most people. Yeah, you would think
Yeah.
not because we are so ingrained in it. You would think that like you have to be online or you don't know what's happening or you don't know. That's not true at
Hmm.
all. Like
The Twitter shit matters to like 5% of the world.
yeah, Twitter is not real world,
Hmm.
is not representative. TikTok isn't like it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to wrap your hand around when it's all you've known and it has seemed like it's so important, but it's really not
Hmm.
in the
This
grand
is
scheme of
absolutely
things.
true.
And that's a thing that I've been wrestling with for a while.
Hmm. I'll be honest with you. Once I get to the point where like the only thing, like of course, gaming news is always going to happen. So
Totally.
like, I'll keep up with that whether or not. When it comes to like purely internet shit that I care about, it's like YouTube stuff because that is
Same.
still like my
Same.
every when I'm sitting down to do nothing for a couple hours, YouTube's on. Like I will put that up in the background or whatever.
I
Like
think YouTube
that
is
is
the
my
only
baseline.
thing that like I'm not interested in letting go of. Uh I
Hmm.
I will always be watching YouTube. That's like my primary source of entertainment is and pretty much always will be YouTube.
Absolutely. But
And
yeah, I could drop everything else today and be fine. But I drop
not
you.
YouTube.
YouTube is the biggest. YouTube and probably like podcasts. Those are the biggest things. Because literally
Totally.
at work, one earbud in while I do my job.
Mhm.
So I'm listening to stuff all the time. So that might be the biggest thing. But actual social media where it's like just sit there and scroll and look at stuff. Yeah, a lot of that stuff I could do without and have been doing without in some cases already. So
It's
yeah.
interesting, man. It's the whole bit, right, of like reshifting your life as you go up and stuff. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
mean like so people who use social media are stupid. Like that's not what we're saying. Like we but
Oh yeah,
some
you probably clicked the tweet that we just
yeah.
made for this episode.
Exactly.
It's
So
fine. We get it.
we get it, but just you shift out of things in life every now and then, right? Like it's you grow and you grow out of stuff that you might not need as much anymore. Or it's interesting, and there's also something to be said about it's a scary thing that we really don't know the long term like effects on the human race that like social media and being internet and
Mm,
being constantly online has like there's something there, right? Like there's basically a proof that apps like TikTok do the same thing for the brain that like slot machines do, where it's like that
absolutely.
that serotonin boost of like scrolling and finding something cool and then going again
Ooh,
and
piece of
it
candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
topical, very topical.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Shout out James Woods. Good
Yeah, man.
lord.
But yeah, like,
Maybe don't shout out James Woods. Anyway,
eh. But there
thought
is
about it
something
for
to be
more than a
said
second.
about that, right? Like, we don't
Hmm.
know how like it does seem like that, like social media kind of just fucking rots your brain. Like, it's not good for you. And fucking I'm going to sound like I am high right now because I'm going like big brain stuff. But it's one of these things in life where, it was a totally normal thing for people for a really long time to smoke cigarettes, right? Like, that was
Yes.
seen as the norm.
Oh,
Everybody does it. It's healthy for you. It's good for you. You'll get skinny. You got to do it, blah 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 blah. And eventually, like, it got figured out, like, oh, this shit is awful for you. You got to stop doing it. And it took a while, and not people still smoke cigarettes, right? But it's like widely considered to be like a thing that people know
yeah. Gross taboo.
is bad for you, right? Like, people
Hmm.
know it's a bad thing. Who knows if that's social media in the future, right? Like, we don't know. Could be. Like,
Mm.
if you went to people in the 1940s and you told them, in 100 years from now, a majority of people won't smoke cigarettes, and like cigarettes will be known to be a bad thing. They would have told you you're fucking crazy.
You know what? You're right, but also smoking's making a comeback because all these Zoomers
Vapes,
and the
I
small
know,
kids,
dude.
they see it in movies because now their only
That's
exposure to
true.
smoking in a lot of cases are in movies
I
when a
know.
cool badass character is doing it. So
And
they're like,
vaping,
ah,
right? Like, the fact
yeah,
that
that too.
it sucks. It's one of those things that gets really depressing, that human beings, like, we were killing big tobacco, like, literally. We were the generation that was ending big tobacco. Like, we were on a good track.
Then they made it digital and now we like it again.
And then they fucking, yeah, and now it's like bigger than
Mm-mm.
ever. It's like, fuck, we were almost there, guys.
We were. And shit, everything's changing. It's one of those things where, yes, this episode's about our personal changes and how our lives are changing. I feel like we're at a fulcrum in the world right
A
now where
hundred
shit's about to
percent.
pop off. Like, of course, SAG-AFTRA, all the Actors Guild just went on strike alongside the Writers Guild. So now, good luck at getting a movie or TV show or anything made in the next year, probably. Shoot, UPS Teamsters are looking to strike soon, and that's over 100,000 people who work for UPS. So if you
Yeah,
got a
man.
package that needs to be delivered, good luck on
Good
that
luck
pretty
with
soon.
that.
Yeah, and then
Social
folks
media
just
obviously is like changing, right?
mhm,
Like, the landscape of that is changing massively.
exactly. Whatever Twitter was is no longer there. Now everyone else is trying to be what that Twitter was, but all of them have their own problems. Just everything's changing all at once, so it feels like, hey, if the world's gonna pop off and be something different in a couple years, maybe I should be something different as well. So
Yeah, no,
it just
100%.
feels like it's enough of trying to wait for things to stabilize to make a move. It's like, oh, things aren't going to be stable, so let me
Yeah.
just make a move so I
Dude,
can accept whatever comes better.
it's the, what's the feeling that it is? It's the feeling of, like, knowing that we are living through history, as dumb as that sounds,
Hmm.
like, through
We're
actual
in the cool. We're in the cool zone.
yeah, we're like living through, like, eventful stuff that will be studied at some point. And right
Hmm.
now, in my summer semester, I am studying American history. So it's so fascinating to see how, like, these things changed, and this spurred an era of this, and this was the thing. And I'm like, wow, we're there right now, where, like, shit
Hmm.
is popping off in a way that, like, civilization post COVID is like a thing
Absolutely.
that will be studied. And that's
Like
kind of wild.
it's weird to say it, but I feel like COVID is our Great Depression, low key,
And, like, yes,
where
it's to that
it's the
level.
thing it sparked something, and now that wick has been burning until either there's a candle at the end or it's TNT.
100%, man. And that's kind of wild to think about. I'm like, well, with AI and
Hmm.
everything that's happening, it's like,
Absolutely, it's all coming to a head because it's all labor stuff. It's all like,
it
hey,
is.
what are the normal middle of the road or even lower class workers? What are their lives looking like? Because they take up most of the country, and now we're at that point where, well, the last 3 years you didn't give a shit about us because you let us all die. And now whoever's left is looking around at all the bodies that they let pile up and looking around at all the conditions that they let get worse. And it's like, well, are we going to accept that? And now people seem to be saying, hey, we're not going to accept that. And honestly, ooh, how spicy do I want to be? How spicy do I want to be?
Spicy.
Because we're towards the end of the episode.
Get
How
fucking
spicy do I want
spicy,
to be?
man. Let's end it. Let's end it. Get hot. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
all right. I'll say this, and I don't know if I'm cooking or not. I don't know if I'm cooking or not. Tell me if I'm saying
Let him
something,
cook.
Mario.
Let him
Call
cook.
me out. Call me out of my shit if I'm saying something. I feel like if a different group of people, like normal people that actually have genuine frustrations, if they were all there on January 6th, there'd be a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for us to dust that off as crazy people because it was crazy people. But it's like people had legit frustrations just expressed in the wrong ways.
Very
But
much
what if
so.
what if it was people with legit frustrations expressing it in that way from a point of actual legitimacy? That would be dangerous.
It
And I feel
100% would
like
be.
you can smell it in the air a little bit that like people are getting in that direction for legitimate
Yeah.
reasons this time.
Oh
So
my
it's like
God,
shit.
100%. Yeah, it's
The-
again like
Mhm,
living through history, like seeing shit that has happened in American history, because that's what I've been learning. I'm like, man, like
mhm,
we could be headed towards one of those things, right? Where, because
mhm.
I don't know if you feel this, by the way, it's hilarious that we got here because we were
Yeah,
talking
right.
about, man, isn't
So
it
I
cool
love
how
my
your life
girlfriend. I'm
changed?
taking a new job. The world's over.
We're going to overthrow the American government.
Oh
What
my
I,
god.
for a while. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have felt this, and we'll end it with this sentiment. It's
Mhm.
felt like, at least in my lifetime, I've had like a very cynical view of like nothing will ever get changed because things are just set in their ways, and it's, powerful people with a lot of
Mm.
money control everything, and it would take something very radical to change stuff, right? And like you think
Certainly.
about like the Second Amendment, right? And like gun laws and gun control, like that's,
Mhm.
do you ever see that changing in your lifetime? I don't know. Maybe like it's a, you would hope so, but you don't know. And seeing, times that has happened in history, I'm like, who knows? We could be headed towards some crazy revolution shit or not.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'll say this because I actually feel slightly inverse, but I'm coming to the same spot in the end. Where growing up, I always put maybe too much value on being a good person. I always felt like there's good always prevails in the end. I've always grown up feeling like,
Mm,
but the older I've gotten, the more that I've realized it's not that good just ends up winning. It's that evil doesn't just leave.
you gotta
Evil
kick
doesn't
it
say,
out.
"Oh, yeah, you got to kick it out." You have to take active action to remove it and to keep it out.
A
That
hundred
is what I've
percent.
learned over the years. And taking the actions that I've been taking in my personal life, I'm trying to make sure the bad habits switch over to good and they stay good in the same way where the rest of this world right now is realizing, "Hey, shit sucks." And we can't just say things should be better. We got to make things better
Mm-hmm.
by force. And the force is the scary part, but it's the necessary part
It
is what
is.
I'm learning.
It is. Yeah, and like again, studying through history, I'm like, yeah, these
Mhm.
changes that at the time, and where I'm coming about talking about like being cynical and like things are too set in their ways, they'll never change. Like at the time when things do change, they also seemed like things were very set in their ways and they were never going to change. So, that's kind of history, right? Like fucking
Yeah.
it took until the 1940s for women to be able to vote. And I'm sure women in the 1910s felt like that's never going to happen. That they're never going to let us
Mhm.
vote. And it does. So that's just how history kind of works. Uh
Bingo bango.
it's just, I don't know, man.
It's a lot.
It's a
The
lot.
the world, I'll say, I mean, our parents grew up in a completely different world than we live in. I hope to say that if either of us have children, they're growing up a completely different world than we're in right now.
I
And
hope
I
so
hope
too,
for
man.
God it's at least good enough for us to have those kids in that world.
God damn, for real, right?
That's all I'm hoping. But hey, we're making steps to make that the case. So fingers
Exactly.
crossed.
We're doing our thing, and that's what matters, and we're growing and we're
Hmm.
evolving, and that's nice to try to wrap it
Indeed.
around with a nice bow.
Yeah. Tune in for the next episode where I talk about Barbie because we're seeing that in like 3
Hell
days.
yeah, man! Let's go. I
I
can't
got pink
wait.
pants. We're wearing matching shirts and everything.
Can't wait. Oh yeah, we're dressing up pink and everything too. We're going all out. I'm gonna see.
Hell yeah.
There is one
Mhm.
IMAX, like true IMAX theater in my entire area.
Wow.
One in the
Good lord.
whole all of South Florida. There is one actual IMAX theater, and
Bless you.
Oppenheimer tickets were sold out opening weekend, the first few days, but we did get tickets. We're gonna see it Tuesday night because I
Oh
told him
yeah.
that as like I don't want to see it because again, if you know anything about movies, digital IMAX versus real IMAX is a thing, right? Like a
Mhm.
lot of the places that say that they're IMAX aren't really IMAX. It's
Yeah.
not IMAX actually.
More like Cymax because that's
Yeah.
how you'll go when you notice the picture quality is bad.
Exactly. So I really wanted to watch it like in its full glory, so we're gonna do that. But yeah, I can't wait to see where our Barbie conversation ends up at.
Oh, I'm so fucking excited. I'm watching more Greta Gerwig movies this week. Actually,
Let's
no, I got to get
go.
Oppenheimer tickets too, so we can talk about that. By the time we record next, I'll probably have seen Oppenheimer too. Probably that
Knowing
weekend before we record.
knowing how we work and how we wildly swing around, our Oppenheimer conversation will be like nice and cheery, and we'll be like good feelings by the end of it.
Yeah. So Josh Peck, the MVP of Oppenheimer, right?
We love that guy, Jack Quaid.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jack Quaid.
Yeah. Also, the guy from Roderick Rules, Diary of Wimpy Kid's in it,
Oh yeah,
which is
that's
wild.
true.
Yeah.
Roderick rules. Nice,
Yeah.
dude.
Shout out
Nice.
Roderick.
What an episode. God damn, that's a roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure.
Holy.
Good luck on this thumbnail.
Oh, fucking I'm like thinking like what do we title this episode?
Changes. That's the
Yeah,
name of the
fucking
episode.
hell. Love it. I love it. Well, everybody, I don't even know what do you think about the state of capitalism? Let us know in the comments below.
Team Pink or Team Bomb? Type in the comments below.
Let's go. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.